Well,
Yeah.
so can we start? So, we are going to cover stakeholder management and communication management today, right? Now, we'll start with the basic definition of stakeholders. What are stakeholders, guys? How do you define stakeholders? How do you define stakeholders, guys?
Any individual or group that is impacted by the outcome of the project.
Yes. So it can be any individual, right? A stakeholder can be any individual, any group, right? Or any organization that can impact or can be impacted by the outcome of the project. Right? Is that okay?
Yes.
Right. So any individual, group, or an organization that can be impacted by the outcome of the project or that can impact the outcome of the project are stakeholders. Right. Are your suppliers stakeholders?
Yes.
Is your project team a stakeholder?
Yes.
Yes.
Is your steering committee a stakeholder?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Are influencers also stakeholders?
Yes.
For example, if you have to identify all the stakeholders of the project, right? You can always use a term called as GUPI, GUPI, right? GUPI can be a term used for defining all the stakeholders of the project, right? Now, how do you define GUPI? Right, let's see. Right. You can use this term GUPI to define, this is an acronym, right, which includes all the stakeholders of the project. GUPI, right? Now, in GUPI, what does G stands for? Right? G stands for governance. Right? Now, if I say governance, in the governance, who all will be included? The steering committee, the project board, will they be included in governance or not? The governance, who all will be included in governance, guys? The steering committee, the project board, sponsors, right? Right? Yeah. And who will be included in you in GUPI is user or beneficiaries. Now, who will be there in user beneficiaries? Your customers, your end users?
Yes.
Right? P stands for providers. Your suppliers, your delivery teams, they're all providers, right? Influencers. Right? So who are there in influencers? Is your travel desk, can your travel desk, your system admin be influencer to your project?
Yes.
Anybody who generates traffic for the business is also an influencer. So
Yes. For example, if I am constructing a flyover, right? People living in the vicinity, can they be influencers?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? So they can be influencers, right? So, if I want to, find out all the people who can impact the outcome of my project, I can always look at this term GUPI, right? It can be an acronym, right? Now, just tell me one thing. Competitor, right? Is competitor also a stakeholder? Or he may or might be a stakeholder based on a scenario. What about may or may not be, right?
Yeah.
Right? May or may not be. Now,
examples of both, Pankaj?
See, if competitor is also launching a product, right? And you are also doing you're also, working on a similar kind of initiative, right? Then competitor is definitely a stakeholder. He's an influencer. Yes or no? However, if competitor is, working in a very different, unique thing which you are not at all into, then is he your stakeholder?
No.
Then he will not be a competitor, na? Then
no. See, as a company, he can be a competitor.
The product line may not be competitive.
Yeah. The product line may not be competitive, right?
okay.
So, but you are right. When in the PMP the question will come, so you should be aware of all the nitty-gritties, right? So, in the context with which I am giving example is I am saying about competitor as an organization, right? And you were talking about competitor as a initiative, right? So again, be very clear when the question is framed in the exam, right? See, if a competing organization can be a stakeholder if you're working on a similar kind of project, right? But a competing organization will not be a stakeholder if their product is totally different, right? Is that okay?
Could you give an example of a competitor being a stakeholder, please?
See, many, Pepsi and Coke.
Yeah. Yes. The target audience is almost the same.
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes you have seen people, the two companies competing for the same kind of a work, right? For example, if you talk about in India, people like the Phone Pay, Bharat Pay, Paytm, Google Pay, they're all competitors.
Right. No, but how are they? Okay, so yeah, stakeholdership in terms of the outcome of the
Yes, they can impact the
project.
outcome of your project.
Yeah, understood. Now understood.
See,
Okay.
I'll tell you, stakeholder management is very, very important.
Right.
See, I'll give you one example here. When I just started my career into training, right? I'm talking about 2012, and one of my training was at PhD Chamber of Commerce, Lucknow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in that training there was a guy called V.N. Dikshit who was also there. He was a principal secretary of UP Industries at that time, right? And IAS officer, a very senior IAS, right?
Mm-hmm.
While delivering my presentation, he stopped me. He said, you can talk about n number of processes, right? You talk about n number of things, but still project can fail. And he gave me example of Yamuna Highway Express. And he said, we planned it very well. We planned it extremely well. But when we were about to deliver the project, right? When we were about to execute the project, right? The whole villagers came out for a protest, right?
Yeah.
And they asked for a compensation, right? They asked for a compensation because of which the project went over budget. In fact, they asked for compensation multiple times because of which project was over budget and timelines were slipped. Now, see, this is what he said as an example. Now I'll quote another example, which I did not quote there, right? Because see, when you are doing it, bureaucrats, you should be cautious, right?
True.
Much before this incident happened, right? See, Yamuna Expressway was early 2000, right? Much before this, I am talking about 96, 97, right? At that time frame, a company called as New Holland Tractor, they came to Greater Noida to set up a plant, right? And the first thing they did was they collaborated with the villagers to understand their expectations, right? The villagers communicated, right? It was communicated to villagers that, okay, they want their people to get job in the factory being built. Now, the CEO of Holland Tractor, he said, right? He said, before getting the job, they should be qualified. So, New Holland Tractor, right? He sponsored free ITI training for all the eligible people. Right? They sponsored them. They paid for their ITI training. The people were trained, right? And later on absorbed also. They did not have any roadblock like this.
Yeah, they targeted the nuisance creators and created opportunities for them.
So see, from the perspective of what I can visualize from what V.N. Dikshit said. Yeah. For him, project management means managing scope, time, and cost.
Correct.
But all these things like managing stakeholders, different categories, identifying stakeholders of all the categories, right? And then managing, is it important or not?
Yes, it is. Anything which can be a hindrance to the project also needs to be elemented in the
Absolutely.
scope.
So, yes, you're right. So, you know,
Pankaj,
you see, Vishal.
Yeah, I have a question. So, I mean, like in PMI, we read about impact influence analysis, right?
Yes, we're about
We'll
to
be
touch
reading
it.
about that. Yes. So, I mean, you talked about the competitors as like one of the stakeholders, right?
Not all the times, not all the times.
Not all the times, may or may not be correct.
May or may
So
not be.
if they maybe like in one of the scenario, let's say Pepsi and Cola, you took the example of, right? So let's say Pepsi is creating this stakeholder chart of impact influence, right? Now that concept says that we should
They are high
provide some
power,
sort of
low interest. They are high
exactly
power,
they
low
are high
interest.
power, low interest, absolutely. High power, low interest, or high interest, low power, because they would be interested in your project, but they don't have power to basically
See, they are
derail your
low.
project.
No. They are not interested actually, but they can damage your project.
Why would they not be interested? I mean, if that is impacting their project, they are like
see the interest. See when you do a power grid interest, it is they are. See, we'll discuss about interest influence also and power. I'll explain you.
Fine.
We are
So
about to
basically,
reach there.
my small question
See, I'll tell you
was
when power grid interest is formed, right? See, low power, high interest is generally used in positive sense for star performers, right? So, and then you say that they should be kept informed. So we'll discuss. See, you can use power interest also. You can use interest influence grid also.
Yeah,
You can
so
use Salience model also, depending on the situation.
Exactly. So my point was, is Pepsi going to inform Cola that we are working on this project?
So that's what, that is not fit. See, they are not low interest. See, they're not low power, high interest, because low power, high interest is something very different in this context. Low power, high interest is generally a term used for star performers. We'll discuss about it.
Okay.
We'll discuss about
Self-motivated.
it.
Sure.
No, but see, we are about, see again, we are about to reach stakeholder analysis, right?
Okay.
So we'll discuss every model. See, we'll discuss 3 models in details: power, interest grid, interest influence, and salience model, right?
I'll hold my question till then.
हाँ तब तक होल्ड कर लो बस, अब थोड़ी देर के लिए बस, क्योंकि वो ये इंपॉर्टेंट डिस्कशन होता है। देखो, नाउ सी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, is it important to understand who all will impact the project and how?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So the first document that you're going to create, right, is stakeholder register, which is there in front of you. A stakeholder register consists of all of these terms, right? All of these elements. This is a sample stakeholder register. Right. Now, obviously, all of you are familiar with identification information, right? Now, apart from, see, this is there in basic stakeholder register, but apart from this, you also define what are the major requirements of the stakeholders, what are their expectations, right? What is the potential influence, right? And stakeholder category, whether a stakeholder is a supporter, neutral, or blocker, right? Is that okay?
Yep.
Right. Now, see, should this document be a confidential document or not?
It should be.
It should be confidential. Yeah, you're now, see, once you have identified all the stakeholders and you have basic idea about all the stakeholders. Now, see, as a project manager, right, do you have infinite amount of time or limited time? You have limited time. So, can you engage with all the stakeholders, or should you prioritize your stakeholder engagement?
Prioritize.
You should be prioritizing your stakeholder engagement, right? Now, for prioritizing your stakeholder engagement, you have to do some basic level stakeholder analysis, right? Which is done using various tools like power grid matrix, right? Interest influence matrix, salience model, right? Now, first we'll start with a very basic one. The basic way to prioritize a stakeholder is this power grid matrix, right? Can you see this matrix? Now, in this matrix, right, the y-axis is power and the x-axis is interest, right? Based on power and interest, you can categorize stakeholders into various categories, right? For example, low power, low interest can be this category, right? Low power, high interest can be this category, right? High power, high interest can be this category, right? And high power, low interest can be this category, right? Keep satisfied. Now, how to deal with different quadrants, right? See, for example, for example, for you, the least important might be low power, low interest, right? For example, people in the low power and low interest are people, who don't expect challenging jobs, who are happy doing and contented doing basic level of work, right? For example, if you ask somebody that on daily basis he has to start a server or a scheduler, or they're happy that, okay, less amount of work, right? They don't have very high aspirations. So no, you don't need to spend very high amount of energy on them. You can simply monitor them from a distance, right? In fact, low power, low interest people will consume least amount of energy of a project manager, right? Ideally, you should be spending minimum amount of time with them, right?
They're replaceable.
Yeah, yes, they are replaceable, right? You're happy till the time they're doing their job sincerely, and they don't have any high aspirations for promotions and everything, right?
Yeah.
Now, second category is important, right? This category is the second category is, low power but high interest. Now tell me, can I consider your star performers in the team as low power, high interest?
Yes.
Right? Now,
Yeah.
if you have star performers in the team, should you think about their career development plan? Tell me.
Yes.
You should. If you don't think about their career development plan, if you don't tell them on constant basis how their personal success is and project success are aligned, right? And if you acknowledge their contribution to the project on constant basis, will it be good in terms of motivating them or not?
Correct. Sustainability matters. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't keep them informed, what will happen? They will either get demotivated or try to find jobs somewhere else. They will start looking out for new jobs or new projects, right? So the correct strategy for these people, right? Low power, high interest is to keep them informed, right?
Yeah.
Now, the second category of people is high power, high interest, right? Now, see, can your project sponsor be high power, high interest?
Yes.
Right? Now, tell me, a project sponsor or a project board, can they help you in getting necessary approvals done?
Absolutely.
Can they help you in facilitation?
Yes, they can.
But then, you have to communicate very closely with them. On constant basis, you should share the status of the project, right? The issues and risk associated with the project, only then they can help you or not.
Yes.
You see, if on a particular day you have to engage with them on, regular basis. See, if on a particular day, as a surprise, you go to them that, you need an approval on this hardware or this thing, right? This additional money, they won't be able to do it.
Right.
So it requires constant engagement with them. They should be constantly updated on how the project is proceeding forward, right? What are the key risks? What are the issues? What are the challenges, right?
Regular communication.
Regular communication and regular, engagement rather than communication, right? You should be engaging with them, right?
Right.
Now, because see, the reason it is important is many times, some project managers, they try to avoid even sponsors, right? But these people can really help you.
Yeah.
Now the most challenging, right? The most challenging one is high power, low interest, right? Now this high power, low interest people can be outside.
Influential, right?
Yeah. They can be outside the organization, they can be inside. Now, can I take example of inside the organization first?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's take one example of inside the organization, right? Now, suppose Vishal, you are a project manager. Can we consider you as a project manager for the time being? Vishal, are you there?
Yeah, I am here, Pankaj.
Right. So I am considering you as a project manager right now, right? Now, see, Vishal is starting a project. He's a project manager, right? And Vishal is in very bad need of an architect, right? And his COO came to know that, okay, Vishal is needing an architect, right? So the COO says, calls Vishal, you need an architect very badly. The project is important to us, right? And he said, I am assigning the best architect we have to your project. He's Shantanu Chakravarti, right? Vishal, I am assigning you the best architect available to us. He's Shantanu Chakravarti. And Shantanu is in good books of the CEO. CEO thinks very high about Shantanu, very high about Shantanu. Now, Shantanu becomes part of Vishal's project, right? Now, the scenario is like this. Shantanu is a very highly articulate person. He uses very great technical jargons. He talks about latest technology, right? He is very good relationship builder. So as when Shantanu is sitting in the area where the team sits, right? Shantanu establishes very good rapport, not only with the internal stakeholders, the team, other people also who are around, right? And he creates a very great impression that he's the guy with he comes to the office, he gel with everybody very well. He go out for smoking with some of the key people, right? He spend and everybody says Shantanu the great guy, right? But what is the situation of Vishal, right? But Vishal is sulking. This is this has happened over a period of 7 to 8 weeks. Everybody is saying, right, Shantanu the great guy, but Vishal is sulking. Why Vishal is sulking? Because this guy is doing everything except he's contributing to Vishal's project, right? He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything, but he's still creating that kind of aura. So tell me, if it happens, will Vishal get disturbed or not?
Yes.
Vishal, will you get disturbed in this situation or not?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So, one of the mistake that often we do is, without understanding the political network of the organization, we start confronting this guy. Right? Now, confronting always takes the shape of escalation. Right? You might write an escalation mail or complaint to CEO or whatever, right? Right? Suppose the escalation has happened and CEO has called both of you for a meeting, right? Vishal and Shantanu. CEO listens to both of you, right? You have to understand there's a separate relationship between CEO and Shantanu, right? Which now, so he listens to both of you. Then the meeting is over. Then he calls Vishal. CEO says, Vishal, right? Don't mind, I would like to, give you one feedback, right? See, this guy is so good. This guy is so good and he has contributed a lot for us. He has done a lot for us. He's really a great, not only, technically, he's a very good human being also. Somehow I feel that, Vishal, you need to brush up your management skills. Right? So who is getting the preaching? Vishal, right? And the meeting is over. Right? Now, see, once the confrontation starts, right, it will not stop here. There will be some more episodes like this also, right? Now, suppose second episode again happened, right? And now CEO has called you and the guy for meeting once again. After the meeting, CEO calls Vishal once again, right? Vishal, what is the problem? See, I sent you for a leadership training also now, right? That was one of the best training. We all are cooperating so much with you, Vishal, right? I send you for a leadership training, right? It was such an expensive one. I recommended your name, right? I want to do whatever you want from me, right? But don't disappoint me, Vishal, right? And then he says, even Shantanu wants to help you, right? He takes a step forward, but he doesn't see response from your side. Then so again, who is getting the preaching? Who is getting the preaching, guys? Who is getting the preaching here in this context? The project
Yeah.
manager or the guy who should get?
Yeah, the project manager.
Now, in this situation,
Yeah,
so what will happen? Will Vishal get frustrated and disappointed or not?
Yep.
Probably he might find a job somewhere else. He'll quit, exit. But Shantanu will keep on getting
sorry
promotions.
to disturb, Pankaj. Can you just rephrase that? Shantanu, what happened from the Shantanu side?
Okay, so I'm just rephrasing. See, Shantanu. See, first of all, Vishal is a project manager who badly needs an architect. Right? Now, his chief operating officer came to know that, he needs an architect. Right? And, the chief operating officer has a very high opinion and good rapport with the architect called as Shantanu Chakrabarti. Is that okay, Nitin?
Yeah, Pankaj.
This architect was allocated to Vishal's project. Right? Now, this guy is very good in terms of interaction with people. He has very great interpersonal skills, right? He gels with everybody, right? He does everything to establish a good rapport, to create an impression that everybody says, Shantanu, the great guy. He talks very well. He uses very great technical jargon so that people around feel that he's the most knowledgeable guy we have in the company. He's doing everything, but he's not actually working in the project. See, the architecture document, right, that should have been done by now is still not done. It is more than 6 weeks in the project. Right? Now, what should Shantanu do in this? Sorry, what should Vishal do in this case? Right? Now, see, should this guy be politically handled or should this guy be confronted based on the situation I told you? Tell me.
Politically handled.
Politically handled, right?
Depends on the situation, Pankaj. If we don't have time in hand, then probably we don't need to wait for.
देखो पर आपकी तो कोई बात ही नहीं सुन रहा ना वहाँ पे. देखो आप, you are, suppose you escalate it to the CEO, he will not even agree to you.
He's a recommendation.
See, again, in the senior management, there are people with predefined mindset.
That's true.
Yes, he was
that, okay,
given
this guy is too good.
Yeah.
If they have said this is too good, he's too good, right?
to handle.
But his deliverables are not complete, so
I mean, confronted with maybe some political.
अरे कोई नहीं सुनता है ऐसे में.
The guy Shantanu was given to the project manager because he knows the subject. However, he's deliberately not done it. So it's important you politically handle the situation and get your work done.
See, I'll tell you, haven't you seen people in the organization who speaks a lot, who have good rapport, but who actually don't work?
yeah, right.
Have you right?
Yes.
We have political people in the organization. They're least
Everywhere.
bothered about us.
Everywhere.
Right? Everywhere, right? So they thrive, by speaking only, right? So if can I call such person as high power, low interest? Because he carries very high referent power. Politically, he's very well connected, right?
Yep.
Right. So because, so that's what I'm saying. So the only way to manage this kind of person is, by not disturbing him. Now, keep satisfied is a strategy given. See, keep satisfied does not mean that you have to please him. But
just
don't
take it with a pinch of salt and just move on with it.
Don't finger point. But yes, see, there are ways. So, how to extract work from him. See, it all depends on the way you plan. Don't use the word you. Right? For example, if your planning is very, very granular, right? If you have a very detailed planning and you are tracking the status of the project in terms of written reports, right? And those written reports are published, right? In the written reports, you constantly broadcast that, okay, architecture document incomplete, but don't say, Shantanu, you have not done it,
Yeah.
right? Don't
Pending.
say, right? Or at the most, you can say, we all can help, right? We all can help him, right? See, don't finger point him, then it will be a big trouble. So, because, see, you have to get those deliverables done also. So you have to politically, understand the political network of the organization. Based on that, you have to politically handle it, right? Right. See, I'll give you an example like this, right? Vishal, do you know a guy called Anil Sharma in Three Pillars Global?
I know.
You know Anil?
Yes.
Now, see what happened, I'll tell you. He was a project manager and I was a group project manager, and we have a BA, right? Indrani. Now, what happened? They went to San Diego for a supply chain project, right? Which was the name of the project was Supply Port. Now, I got an escalation from Anil that this guy is not working at all, and we have only 6 weeks for requirement gathering, and it's a project. This is first time we are doing a supply chain management project. He escalated that, okay, this guy is not working at all. He's non-serious about gathering the requirement. Now tell me, in this case, the guy BA was much senior to the project manager. He was not listening to him. Now what can be done? So what I did was, see, I have received an escalation verbally from Anil. So what I did was I simply wrote an email, right? That requirements are catastrophic risk. Now see, the moment this went to everybody, requirement are catastrophic risk, right? It went to some people like Larry Simpson was there, Mike Renner was there, and Colin Desa was there. They called for a meeting in the evening. Now, when the meeting started, right? Obviously, the first question will be asked to the project manager. Now, the situation was like this. The BA and the project manager were sitting together in San Diego. I was in Noida, and all the management team was in, I think, Virginia. Now, when they asked the project manager in front of BA that, do you feel requirements are catastrophic risk? Anil, do you feel requirements are catastrophic risk? Was in front of them, he said, no, I don't think so. So then they came to me. They said, why did you write an email, Pankaj, that requirements are catastrophic risk? So I said, what I meant to state was that, requirements for this project are highly complex, right? So we should give as much support to people, right? As much support to Indranil and Anil as possible, right? We should support them because requirements are highly complex. The moment I said this, there was a guy who was a CTO, Colin Desa. He said, yes, Pankaj is right. We should start with daily reviews of the requirement progress and help these guys as much as possible. Now tell me, now in this situation, does BA has any option to not to do the work, or he has to work?
Has to work.
He has to work now. But did I say that he's doing a bad job?
No. You made the person indirectly be accountable.
Yes.
Obliged.
Right. So many times, you have to be, you have to understand the political situation, right? And I never felt bad with Anil also when he said no. I understood the fact that he's sitting with the BA and he has to work with him for 6 months, for 6 weeks, right? More. I was okay with it. So you have to understand the fact there will be a lot of political networks when you do project, right?
So in this scenario, how this BA got satisfied?
No, we didn't touch. See, it's not about getting satisfied. Did we disturb BA? Did I say that BA is bad?
No, we didn't say that, but I mean,
but see, keep satisfied does not mean that you have to please somebody. Keep satisfied means don't offend somebody.
Okay.
It's a
Right?
sort of that the project will get impacted. We have to focus on this part, but this is not his mistake.
Yeah,
If I'm right. Yeah.
So we are together. So because see why? Because these, see, if you touch these people, see, if you touch these influencers, right, who are high power, but they're least bothered about whether the project will succeed or not, right? They can be troublesome. They can, jeopardize your project.
You don't mess with their ego.
Yeah, don't mess with their ego. They can create bigger. And I have seen, I have seen even very senior people, with 20, 25 years of experience, very sincere, very good, very knowledgeable people, right? See, I know a lady called Poonam Ahluwalia, right, from Tata Engineering, very sincere, very bright, very intelligent, right, but very less political, right? She was too good to manage everything, but she also stumbled here. Because see, sooner or later, if you're doing big projects, you will get these Shantanus. See, I don't know if you've done, but if you've done big project, there will be personal interests, right? Personal preferences. People want to succeed at any cost. So you will have multiple such people sometimes.
And I think
Confrontation is always bad in every project. So
Yes.
that's never an option actually.
Yeah.
And it's not only about Shantanu. I think Pankaj, like everyone who's in power, maybe CEO, CTO, CEO, or whatever.
No, but see, powerful people are interested also. See, this quadrant is different. See, if with power your goal is the project that project should be successful, then it's a different thing altogether. This is not that legitimate power. That Shantanu was not carrying any legitimate power with you. See, you are a project manager. In terms of legitimacy, you are more powerful. But what kind of power he was carrying? He was carrying a referent power. A good relationship with the COO.
Yeah, but that is like one-off scenario. Not every project, every time we'll be having that sort
देखो
of
सब में नहीं होंगे ये सारे लोग. You see, I agree. You have some smooth projects also where you don't get this.
But इस quadrant में कोई तो follow करता होगा ना, मतलब if I'm talking about let's say
इसमें
CEO.
बहुत सारे और भी आएंगे. देखो इसमें बहुत सारे और भी. देखो suppose अगर मैंने आपको see, I gave you example of external stakeholders, right? People living in the vicinity, right? Right. So they are influencers, right? For example, some of the people who are external to the organization, they may not be interested in your success, but they have high referent power or any other kind of power on your project, right? Right. But again, there are strategies to make low interest people into high interest people also. We'll talk about that as well, right? People who are least interested, can they be made more interested?
Oh,
right?
yes.
For example, people living in the vicinity, when you are creating a factory, right? Or you are constructing a flyover, initially they may be what? They can be influencer, they can be high power in terms of influence, but they can be low interest. But by engaging with them, can you improve the interest factor or not?
Yes, you can by offering them jobs.
Yes. So we will, that is done through another tool called as Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix and Stakeholder Planning, right? So we can do that as well. So this is one way of prioritizing your stakeholder engagement, right? One way of analyzing different types of stakeholder based on power and interest, right? Power here does not mean only legitimate power. It can be any kind of power. It's a power of influence, power, referent power also, right? Is that okay?
Does that
Pepsi Cola? You saw Tata's project was stopped in West Bengal, right?
Yeah.
Right. So when Tata's project was stopped, the people who stopped the project, do they fall under this quadrant or not? High power, low interest. Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
True.
Right.
And those are the people you need to keep informed and keep satisfied.
Yes. Right. I don't know. I don't know. See, there was a issue with Nestle and Maggie, right? Vishal, remember 3 years ago, and Maggie was stopped for
Yes.
from production.
The VAT sellers.
For 6 months, they were not there in the market, right? Yes or no? Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes,
in
yes.
that case, I heard, I don't know, that one of the competitor was also involved in stopping that. Right. I don't know whether you know or not. See, because I was told that, by somebody that, one of the competitor who was also producing the same product made it happened because of this.
So do the that sort of competition fall in high power, high interest zone?
High power, low interest. Actually, they are not interested in your success. Interest is towards success. But they are interested in damaging you. They're least bothered about you. They're of low interest to you.
Okay. So do how can we satisfy them in that case, like in this scenario, like competitors?
If you don't trouble them, they will not trouble you. Right?
But I
When
mean,
the see,
competition is ultimately like to engage more
you have to be
customers.
very cautious about this. Pricing competition sometimes become very bad, right? See, people start underpricing. Plus, see, you have to keep a safe distance because
But
people get
अगर
damaged.
target audience same है दो companies का, right? So ultimately you are going to like
But they will not use bad tactics at least. See, you are losing some business, it's okay. But you are stopped from doing business, that can be a bigger trouble.
Okay, but I mean,
Are you getting my point or not?
I mean, see, I don't think like going unethical is a right thing, but ethically, like companies go for
That's okay. That's okay. See, ethically, that's okay. See, obviously, I can do more aggressive advertisement based on my competitor. That's okay. But see, this is what I have seen practically, right? Practically, I have seen, right? A company, a same competitor making complaint of another company. Competitor A complaining about competitor B, right, in the office of income tax, in the office of GST, which is bad actually. So sometimes, these people can, damage you. So be very careful. Don't get into ugly fights. This is what I'm saying. So, did you understand why did I say for internal stakeholder who is high power, low interest, or politically very strong, don't confront him, right? That the strategy should be keep satisfied, right? Don't confront him. You won't succeed. Does it make sense or not?
It does.
Right. When in the real world, there will be political networks, right? Wherever 100 people or more or 1,000 or 500 people are working, right? So you have to be very careful. You have to be politically correct all the time. See, I
There's
agree.
one mantra. Sorry.
Sorry, but just one thing. See,
Yeah.
I agree that you have to be hardworking, you have to be honest, you have to be professional, right? But at the same time, you have to be politically also smart, right? When you are managing the project. What do you think, Saloni?
Now, I was just saying, you're absolutely right because there's one mantra only. This is not the end of everything.
Yeah, this is not the end of everything. Yes, yes.
Correct. Somebody who you may not get along well with today, if you're well managing them, your project at the end of the day is meeting the timelines by keeping your own egos aside. I think you've done a win-win situation here.
See, actually, when you are working with people who don't you love to work with, right? It creates some level of unpleasantness and irritation, but learn how to manage that irritation, right?
Yeah.
And when you complete those tasks in those phases, it seems pretty good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
And I
I
think the
was,
strategy of the smoothing comes in place sometimes as well.
yeah. See, I was doing a training at Cab Gemini, Mumbai, right? And it was the final day of the training, and I was at the cafeteria, not cafeteria, the area where vending machines and everything. I was taking my coffee, and there were very young project managers who were not part of my training group, right? They were discussing, and one guy said, I'm fed up reporting to an idiot, right? And I said, I was there. I said, if you want to succeed, learn how to manage an idiot.
Yeah.
That is more. You see, he said, his boss. He was saying about his boss, right? So I said, see, your boss can be idiot, right? But you should know how to manage. See, you don't have, in organization, you won't have always people who would love to, you're not there to love people to work with them, right? All the times. There will be all sort of people, right?
Yes.
But see, what is the goal there? Goal is to make your project successful, right? Is that okay? Now, this is Power Grid matrix. There are other tools also used, right? For example, another tool is very similar to this, which is interest influence matrix, right? Right. Now, before we do interest influence matrix, because it is very similar to what we did, I'll go through Salience model, right? This is another model where we take third dimension also, right? We take three dimensions: power, urgency, and legitimacy. These are the three dimensions which are taken here, right, in Salience model. Power, based on power, urgency, and legitimacy, right? We categorize various stakeholders as dormant, discretionary, demanding, dominant, dangerous, dependent, definitive, and non-stakeholders, right? For example, right, who are definitive stakeholders, right? Who are definitive stakeholders, guys? Right? Definitives, you can see the engagement, the prioritization should be like this. Definitive are the most important, right? Then dominant, then dangerous, then dependent, then dormant, discretionary. This is the way you have to see. The highest priority should be given to definitive. Now, if you see this Venn diagram, in this Venn diagram, who are definitive, who are high in terms of power, who are high in terms of urgency, and who are high in terms of legitimacy. Should they be the most important for you or not?
Yes.
Right. Second, dominant. Who are dominant? This is
Power and legitimacy.
power and legitimacy. Right. Then dangerous is the fifth one. Power, urgency. Right. They may not have legitimacy though. Right. Power and urgency. Right. Then dependent. Sixth is dependent. Right. Which is urgency and legitimacy. Right. For example, dormant is there are some people who are high power only. Dormant. Right. You don't need to give attention to those. Now tell me, can I say the investors? Anytime investors who sit on the board, right? They're dormant, right? They don't actively participate, right? So you don't need to engage with them, right? Yeah. Then discretionary and demanding, right? So this is the order in which you have to prioritize the stakeholder, and this is and based on three dimensions: power, urgency, and legitimacy. And this model is called a Salience model. Right? Basically, the purpose of all these models is to prioritize your stakeholder engagement, right? Who should you engage more with? Now, similarly, as we did, power interest, we have a interest influence matrix also, right? Now, interest is the y-axis, influence is the x-axis. Based on interest and influence, you can categorize stakeholders as keep informed, right? See, as right, if the interest and influence is very high, you might require strong buy-in from the stakeholders, right? Is that okay? Now, suppose you have completed your stakeholder analysis, right? You have basic idea about your stakeholder analysis, right? Now tell me, see, as I told you, should you plan something? Because, in the interest of the project, you might have to convert people who are blockers to supporters, right? People who are supporters to leading, right? People who are, let's say, non-aware about your project to at least support your project. So this is done as a part of stakeholder engagement planning. And the And before you in fact complete your stakeholder management plan, you have to create a document called a Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix. Now, can you see a stakeholder engagement assessment matrix here?
Yes.
Right. This is a stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, right? Now, these are various stakeholders, and right now, unaware, resistant, neutral, supportive, and leading. These are various engagement levels. For example, stakeholder 1, he is currently unaware, right? But in the interest of the project, you have to make him his desired engagement level should be what?
Supportive.
Supportive, right? Now, for example, there can be a stakeholder, right? There can be a stakeholder who is resistant, right? Suppose it is C written. For example, stakeholder 2. Currently, he is what? Neutral. We want, right? But desired engagement level should be supportive, right? Even currently he might be resistant, but we want to make him supportive, right? This can also be the mapping. So in a stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, first we will capture the current situation, the as a situation, and then we talk about the future, right? As a desired engagement level, right? What do we want in terms of desired engagement level? Do we want him to be supportive or leading, right? Or anything else? For example, there can be some stakeholder 4 here, right? Suppose stakeholder 4 is, right? Let's say stakeholder Ishan is a stakeholder 4, let's say, right? Ishan is a stakeholder 4, right? His current engagement level might be resistant, right? So this is C. And in the interest of the project, we want to make him
Supportive.
the desired one supportive, right? So, this mapping first we'll do this mapping before we complete and create our stakeholder management plan. Now tell me, is it important or not? Is this mapping important? And based on, how to achieve this, right? In order to understand how to achieve this, we have to create a stakeholder management plan.
Correct.
Right? So is this mapping important or not?
It
This
is.
is important, right? We can't, if we are not doing this mapping, then the whole purpose of stakeholder analysis is baseless, right? Useless.
Yeah. All stakeholders are powerful. However, the interest levels could vary.
Yes.
Hence, it's important.
It's important, right? Now, based on this, right, then we can create an overall approach or overall plan to manage stakeholder engagement, right? And a stakeholder engagement plan looks like this, right? This is, in fact, the stakeholder engagement plan is a foundation for our communication management plan as well, right? It's a base and foundation for communication management plan, right? Now, in stakeholder engagement plan, the first item, as you see, would be desired and current engagement level of the key stakeholders, right? This is nothing but your stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, right? Just as I told you about RACI matrix, guys, there will be questions on stakeholder engagement assessment matrix in the exam as well, right? So please remember it. What is, right? It's a part of stakeholder engagement plan, and it depicts desired and current engagement level of key stakeholders, right? In the stakeholder engagement plan, we also have information about scope and impact of the change to stakeholders, right? See, impact of a change to different stakeholders will be different or not?
Yes.
Right? Sometimes the impact can be big, sometimes impact can be small. Can an impact be losing a job also sometimes?
Yes.
Right? Right? Can the impact be relocation sometimes?
Yes.
Right? So there can be multiple impacts, right? Third, identified interrelationships and potential overlap between the stakeholders, right? Stakeholders can have overlapping needs also, right? Now, the most important thing, stakeholder communication requirement for the current project phase. See, the stakeholder communication requirement will be based on the stakeholder engagement plan, right? Right. Information to be distributed to the stakeholders, including language, format, contents, and the level of details, right? Reasons for distribution of that information and the expected impact to the stakeholder engagement, right? Time frame and frequency for the distribution of the required information to the stakeholder, right? And the approach for managing and updating the stakeholder management plan, right? See, we'll start engaging with the stakeholders based on stakeholder management plan. Now tell me, should this stakeholder engagement plan be a static document or a dynamic document? Should it be updated to be more effective or not?
Yeah, dynamic.
Dynamic, right? See, if it is working well, it's okay. But if it is, if you still see a lot of stakeholder conflicts, because it is an approach to engage with the stakeholder, you might have to modify, right?
Yeah.
But the overall engagement with the stakeholder, you can follow this plan. Now, how does overall stakeholder management, whatever we have discussed, look like? So can I give you a single snapshot on how the whole stakeholder engagement works, right? So whatever, I'll give you a single diagram that depicts how the stakeholder management works. Right? Now, can I zoom in this picture?
Yes, please.
Right, I'm zooming this picture. Now, this is what we discussed as a whole. This is what we discussed as a whole, right? Now, whatever we discussed has been described here as a six-step process, right? Now, please have a look at this whole flow, right? I'll give you 5 minutes. Please look at, and then you can ask me questions.
Pankaj, are there like specific tools to measuring effectiveness of this exercise?
देखो, ये effectiveness के लिए हम सिर्फ conflicts, issue log को देख सकते हैं, risk को देख, issue log primarily. और कोई मतलब ये see this, to measure the effectiveness of stakeholder engagement, it's very human or interpersonal thing, right? People kind of thing. So issue log is the only way you can do it. For example, counting the number of issues because of stakeholder conflict, right, can tell you how effective is your current stakeholder engagement?
Okay.
Now, tell me, any issues with this?
No, this is good.
It's same thing which we discussed, right?
Right.
The only thing is what Vishal pointed out, Vishal, I hope you understand this, based on, see how 6 and 3 are connected. So there is a word re here. Re means updating, right? For example, when you measure the effectiveness of the result, right, this is more like a feedback. Do we need to readjust our strategy? So if any updates are required, you can update your stakeholder engagement plan, right? Else you will go with the whatever you have, right? So the connection between 6 and 3 is important, right? Which you should know. Now, if you're okay with this, can we practice some questions on stakeholder engagement?
How do we measure this, Pankaj?
See, the only way is, conflict management, your issue log,
Okay.
right? The issue log is the only way you can do it. How many issues are there or conflicts are there because of stakeholder engagement?
Yeah. Okay.
Now, can we practice some questions?
Yes, please.
Now, Vishal, have you put the questions, the doubts you have on the desktop or
not yet,
laptop?
Pankaj.
अरे यार उसको डिस्कस कर सकते हैं हम, देखो यहाँ पे
ठीक है, मैं ट्राई करता हूँ। मैं
बड़ा स्क्रीन होता है ना, तो थोड़ा इजी।
ठीक है, मैं एक बार ट्राई करता हूँ, अगर मैं कर लेता हूँ तो।
ठीक है। Now, can we do question number 1? Can you see my screen? Question number 1.
Yes, we can.
Matt, the sponsor of a large publishing project, meets with all the stakeholders on the project to ask for their support in upcoming testing event. Which engagement level is he displaying?
Leading or supportive?
Supportive.
Tell me, look
Supportive.
at it. Look at it
Charlie.
very
Yeah.
He's leading na to get the support.
Sir, a leader seeking for a support is a supporting or leading?
Supportive.
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 यहाँ से देखो. See, the sponsor of a large publishing project meets with all the stakeholders of the project to ask for their support. So these stakeholders are definitely supportive, but is Matt supportive or leading?
Leading.
Lead.
Is Matt leading or supporting, guys?
Leading.
Leading. Reread this, please. Can you read it? Now, should it be leading or supportive? Charu, can you please?
He's leading for support.
Leading.
Leading, right? He's leading, right? Now, but if the question was what is the engagement level of the stakeholders?
Supportive.
That is supportive, right? Perfect.
Right.
Second is rejected. Second one is rejected, right? It's an outdated question, so I'm removing it, right, from the list. Third, you take over for a project manager who has left the company and realize that there are stakeholders in the project who haven't been included in the status meeting so far. Now, some upper managers think the project is not going to succeed and others are actively thinking of canceling it. Which document is the first one that you should create to solve this problem?
A. Alpha.
Stakeholder register.
Alpha, right? Alpha. Perfect. Now, what should be the fourth one? You have to answer fourth one. What should be the fourth one?
Unaware or
Resisted.
resistant?
Resisted.
See, this is tricky actually. Should it be unaware or
Unaware.
unaware?
Unaware, because second statement say I am not even sure what it is.
See, because if she would have said,
I'm not the one who's going to look into it, then it would have been resistant.
yes. If the second statement would not have been there, right? I am not even sure what it is. If I remove this, then
Yeah.
it becomes what? Resistant.
Correct. Unaware.
This
Sorry,
is
sir. Resistance के लिए क्या होगा पंकज?
the last term, you remove this. Remove this. I am not even sure what it is. Right? I am not working on it. That's it.
Okay.
This is resistant, right? I won't do it. But right now she's unaware, right? Now, Joe, a stakeholder on your project, has been plotted on the power interest grid as a high interest with low power. What is the best approach for managing his engagement level? Now, high interest, low power, right? Like a star performer. So what should be the answer?
B. Bravo.
B, bravo.
Absolutely, bravo. Yes.
The answer is, sorry, please repeat.
B, bravo.
Keep him informed. Keep him
informed.
informed.
Right. Sue, the sponsor of industrial design project you are managing, is plotted on your power interest grid as a high power, high interest. What is the best approach for managing her requirement and expectations?
B, manage her requirements and expectations.
Yes, closely. Absolutely right, Isha. Absolutely right. So should it be bravo?
Yes.
Right? High power, high interest, manage closely, right?
Right.
10th I'm removing, so not needed. In fact,
Pankaj, what about 7? 7 is also stakeholder management.
7 is not needed, right? They're outdated questions, right? Process groups are not part of the current curriculum, right? So I'm removing it. In fact, this is also not part 11th. 11th is also not needed, but still, you can answer it. Which information is not included in stakeholder register? Stakeholder deliverables are part of scope statement, not
Right.
so, but again, not needed. This type of questions are obsolete now, right?
Mhm.
Now, can we start with communication management? Right? Let's start with communication management now. Now, see, this communication is about, this communication is more about how to communicate, right? Right? How to communicate, who should communicate, what to whom, and at what
Pankaj,
frequency.
your screen is not visible.
Okay. Right. Now, see, project communication management is all about communicating right information to right people at right time. Right. Now, tell me how often you have seen a situation when a communication reaches somebody who was not intended to receive it, right? And how many times you have seen a situation that communication does not reach a recipient who was supposed to receive it? How many times have you seen this situation?
Well, it does happen.
Right? It happens, right?
Yes,
See,
especially when there are similar names on email
yes,
and you
absolutely.
end up
Especially,
choosing.
very good. Especially when there are similar names on email, right? So, my name is very common, right? So,
Right.
many times I get email from various companies, right? And sometimes there's a, discussion going on with HR regarding full and final, right? I'm continuously in the loop, right? Many times it happened, right?
Right.
So, and And it's an unfortunate thing for those companies also. Sometimes they're talking. I am a competitor, and they're talking. One of my competition, right. He was talking about a training at Boston Consulting Group, and I was constantly marked in CC. Right.
Yeah.
There was one training company who was discussing about PMP Tokyo, right? Their client, and I was marked in CC. Now tell me, such things should be avoided or not?
Yes.
See, communication is very important. See, we are not talking about presentation skills or public speaking here, right? We are talking about right communication to right people in a right manner, right? Right. When I say right manner, security also plays a key role.
Correct.
Right. For example, should I use Yahoo or Gmail for official communication?
No.
Right. Now, if under exceptional situation, if it is required, there should be a process defined somewhere, right?
Right.
Right. So, now we'll go through all the important aspect of communication management, but before we go into details of those, first understand what is a communication model, right? Any communication model, does it consist of sender, receiver, medium, feedback, noise, encode and decode? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, let's go through some basics first, right? For example, a communication can be formal written, right? Now,
Right.
when I say formal written, RFP, project charter, project management plan, business case, are they all formal written or not?
Yes. All the documents.
All the documents, like contracts, right?
Right.
Informal written, email conversations can be informal, right? But again, this is old slide. Now, even
Emails
Emails
are
are
formal.
formal
yeah,
communication.
now in even Indian code, right? Emails are considered formal, right?
Yes.
Correct.
WhatsApp can be informal.
I don't know whether WhatsApp, it depends on the part of geography, I'll tell you, right? It depends on the part of geography.
WhatsApp has been now made legally acceptable in the courts.
Okay.
So it's become a part of it.
But I
Yeah.
guess not in India.
See, I'll tell you what.
Depends case to case.
Right, I'll tell you. 4 years ago, one of my application, right? I wanted to have a, what is that called as IEN number, right? From US, right? One, my application got rejected because of this only. Right? I wanted the tax number so that I can have a bank account there, right? And when I called them on phone, the reason for rejection was that I submitted the proofs in the form of email. They said you could have submitted the scanned document rather than emails. So they said reapply again with the documents. They didn't accept, even the US government at that time in 2017-18, they didn't accept email documents. So, but again, whether something is acceptable, whether WhatsApp messages are acceptable or not, or whether emails are acceptable or not, this also depends on the area, right, or the part of the geography, right? Now, formal verbal can be speeches, presentations. Informal verbal can be conversations, right?
Right.
Now, see, we not only communicate by speaking, we communicate in multiple ways. Do we communicate by non-verbal means or not?
Yes, of course.
Right? For example, sometimes, see, I had one Korean boss, right? If you do a mistake, or if your work is below his expectations on some occasions, right? He will not say anything. He will not say anything to you, but he will stop maintaining eye contact with you for some time. Now tell me, when he does this, was the communication passed or not? Was the message passed?
No.
No. See, on regular basis, see, I'll tell you what.
Till the time you've been associated and you've understood the body language of the other person since you've been working,
yes.
then
So
you may understand.
Yeah. Since we were working with him on regular basis, we understand that and we knew that he will not maintain eye to eye contact for some time, till the time he's happy with our performance.
Right.
Right. This was his way to pass the message. For example, see, if there is a conference going on, right? If somebody comes late, right? Now, there are multiple ways to communicate this. One way is, you should ask the person that why you are late. Another way is, you look at your watch and look at her face
Right.
or his face, right? Is the message passed or not,
Yes, it is.
right? So many times, through gestures, facial expressions, and physical appearance, also message can be passed. See, I'll give you one example here. See, I was talking to a doctor, right? And he told me one, and he had two kids, grown-up kids, right? And both of the kids were quite scared of the dad, right? Not scared in that sense, but they were they they would not do whatever they want to do in front of his father. And he told me that I never raised my voice towards any of the kid. I never raised my hand. So whatever communication I had to pass, I would pass it through my eyes and expressions. That I'm unhappy.
Yeah.
Right. So this is also so many times you communicate using non-verbal means also, right?
Yeah.
Now, I hope non-verbal communication is okay with you, right?
Yes.
Now, paralingual communication. Paralingual communication is tone or pitch of your voice, right? Sometimes you use sarcastic tone, right? For example, suppose Aditya, right? Aditya, on regular basis, I talk to you like this. Hey, Aditya, how are you? We talk in a very non-formal way, right, Aditya? But on a particular day, right, I came to you and say, Aditya ji, will it be done? Now, tell me, is it a sarcastic tone?
Yes.
Right? So, many times, to pass the message that you're unhappy, you use sarcastic tone also or not.
Yeah. Or you become too professional.
Right? So all of a sudden, then you will analyze, right? Nitin ji, kaise ho? Right? So again, again the message is passed through this paralingual. This is when you use sarcastic tone or change the tone or pitch of your voice. This is paralingual communication, right?
But now also in India, in some areas of India and some companies, some seniors, they prefer we addressing them as G instead of telling Mr. XY
So
said.
that's okay. That's a different thing. That's a different thing. Yes, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. I don't know, but are there still some companies where you have to say G and sir?
In some fields, even my cousin was saying they are into contract field. They are saying some seniors of even this Tata company, Tata projects. Okay.
Okay.
Senior leaders, if when they are addressing by name Mr. So and so, they will not be that much happier. If they are saying X, Y, Z, G, they will be very happy. They are thinking that we are giving them respect.
Okay. Actually, perhaps because many senior people join there, right? Many senior people. See, I'll tell you. See, I met with somebody, who, in my family, even in marriage party. He joined Reliance, right? Now he joined Reliance after getting retired from a company called as Bell.
Yeah.
Or NTPC, I don't know. Remember? Now, see, these people are very senior. They have seen this kind of culture before. So probably because of this. Because most of the people who are very senior in Tata Engineering or Reliance, they are from public sector background, or they have been ex-IAS officers also.
I think it's subjective to the practice an organization follows or set of people follow. If you go, I mean, yeah, if you go towards the, I mean, if you get into Navy or Army, people are dressed as sir and lieutenant or whatever. So I think it's got to do with sector of industry you're associated with.
It's to do with the people normally, not with
Yeah,
the.
yeah, you're right, Savita. It's got to do with the culture, basically.
Culture and people, yeah, because people behave the way the culture is, right?
Yeah.
They are sometimes mixing their culture or environment with the work. Actually, they are expecting.
I think the safest bet here is to address them with a salutation in their last name.
Yes.
Yeah, the people with the higher experience number of years, they expect us to, call sir or ma'am.
Yeah.
It's strange, but see, I'm talking about 2001, not or 2002, right? I had a boss, Amit Kumar, who was a senior VP, and I used to work for a company called a City Group. He would, when by mistake, even if I say sir, he will say, no, Pankaj, call me Amit, we are friends. And he would say this to everybody, even to a trainees who would
They were
join.
adaptable to change. So yeah, I think it's culture and people. Some people are fast learners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is more to do with culture and the people also, the culture that people have seen, right? Also.
Same case with EY, Pankaj. They don't
Yeah.
like to be called a sir or boss,
Yeah.
nothing. By name itself.
Yeah. Now, so where are we?
Feedback now.
Feedback, sorry, yes. We are, so, again, so, feedback, here is in the context of paraphrasing, right? Now, see,
Right.
when you communicate, one of the good form of communication is, when you see, suppose, somebody is communicating you something, right? It is always good to rephrase the message back and just to ensure that your understanding about the message is correct, right? This is also called as effective listening, right? Now, generally, as a communication rule, listening is most important in communication, right? And one of the biggest flaw in communication is, see, this happens with multiple people, right? And a lot of us, and again, people need to be coached and groomed, right? That's it. See, when somebody is speaking, right? When suppose person A is speaking, many times people who are listening, they are not actually listening. They are busy in preparing the reply towards what he's speaking. So should this be approach, or they should first listen to him completely, right? And then they should even ask him whether their interpretation is correct or not. Should they rephrase the message back or not, whether their understanding is correct wherever they feel that there can be some ambiguity in their understanding.
Absolutely.
They should, right? Now, see,
Right.
generally, listening is so effective. Listening is a very, very effective form of communication. And, see, there are various levels of listening. I'm writing some levels of listening here. Internal listening, focused listening. There are 3 levels actually of listening. And, these things are, people are not born with these traits. This can be, developed over a period of time based on experience. Right? Now, what is an internal listening? What is a focused listening? And what is a global listening? See, first of all, what is an internal listening, guys? Now, see, sometimes some people are internal listeners, right? They will listen to your words. They will only listen to the words being said, but they will interpret the message based on their own internal lenses. Does it happen or not?
Yes.
They interpret the meaning of the word being said, right? The way they want, right? I'll take a very simple example. You can have multiple examples. And they create the meaning and interpretation of everything on their own. They will only simply read the words, right? Now, if I say some sentence like this, right? This is a child or a student with a special needs, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I say child with a special needs, right? Somebody who is an internal listener may conclude, right? He's a autistic or ADHD or some other kind of a child, right? He will interpret without asking me even.
Yes.
Right? See, a child with a special need can be either a child with a disability or a child with a special abilities, very bright kid also.
Yeah.
Very bright is also of special needs, right? So without asking or without intervening, they will conclude based on the word being said, right? So these are internal listeners, right? Are you getting the meaning of internal listening?
Yep.
You only read the word being said and interpret the way you want. Right? You are not connecting with somebody who is speaking to you, right? Now, what is the second level is focused listening. Now, in the focused listening, you try to empathize with the person who is actually communicating with you. You try to connect with person who is communicating with you, right? That is focused listening, right?
Yeah, you're more engaged.
Yeah, you're more engaged. You also, you also observe the facial expressions, right? The body language, right?
Right.
Whether he is nervous, understand. You try to connect with the person. That is a focused listening. You may be asking a lot of probing questions. You may be asking some questions also to make sure that your understanding is correct or not. That is focused listening, right?
Yeah.
For example, if somebody is clenching his fist, you should interpret that he's nervous. Now,
Yeah.
this is a good form of listening. The highest form of listening is global listening. Now, in the global listening, you not only observe the person, right? You observe the environment also, right? For example, if somebody calls you to your personal cabin, right? Right? If your boss calls you in your personal cabin, right? Right? And he's talking to you about performance of a new joinee. He's speaking very slowly. He has called you in the personal cabin, and he's speaking very slowly. He's just whispering.
Mhm.
Right? He's speaking very slowly. Right? Now, see, a person who is a global listener, right? A person who is a global listener will interpret, right? That, okay, whatever the guy is saying is highly confidential, right? He doesn't need to tell that to you, that, please don't tell it to anybody. The person who is global listener will understand on his or her own, that, okay, whatever he's saying is highly confidential because he has called me in the personal cabin. He's discussing about a new employee. He's talking in a very low volume, right? So this is global listening.
Mm.
Are you able to differentiate between focused listening and global listening?
Yes.
See, here you can interpret the environment as well, right? So see, the more effective you are as a listener, see, the better will be your communication, right? So now, these were some basics. The most important aspect of communication is planning the communication, right? Coming out with the right communication management plan, right? Now, how does a communication management plan looks, right? What does it contain? Can we see that?
Mm-hmm.
Sample communication management plan. This is a sample communication management plan. Can you look at communication management plan here? See this plan, if you look at this table, it will talk about the communication, the format, the frequency, the receivers.
Right.
Now, tell me, does this kind of plan help you to remove any kind of ambiguity?
Yes, it does. It's planned. So
it's planned, right?
Yes, it is planned.
Now, see, for a small project, for a simple project, you can have a communication management plan like this. For example, if there's a technical incident report, there should be the format is email, right? It should be given immediately after the incident, right? The distribution can be right through these people, right? Right. If there is a weekly status report or weekly web bulletin, right? This is how it has to be distributed. This should be the format, right? The frequency should be weekly, right? Distribution should be to teams, sponsors, senior management, right? Right. So, if you have to discuss current top 5 risks, the distribution should be to these people, right? And this should be the frequency. Now, see,
Yes.
the communication management plan is about what to be communicated to whom, at what frequency, right? Who should be the sender, who should be the receiver, right? Right.
Right.
If there are any confidentiality requirement, they should also be taken into communication management plan. Now, if the project is small, you can have a simple communication management plan like this, right? For a small project. But, for big project, communication plan may consist of many other things also, like, the communication protocol, the escalation levels, the communication flow, right? So for a big
Yeah.
project, you can have a proper exhaustive communication management plan like this. Can you see the contents now? The stakeholder communication requirements, can it come from the stakeholder management plan?
Yeah.
Right. Then we have information to be communicated, including language, format, content, and level of details. Right. Reason for distribution of that information. Right. Time frame and frequency for the distribution of the required information, and receipt of acknowledgement or response, if applicable. Person responsible for communicating the information. Right. Person responsible for authorizing the release of confidential information, person or groups who will receive the information, right? Method or technologies used to convey the information, such as memos, emails, or press releases, right? Glossary of common terminology, right? Flow charts of information flow in the project workflows with possible sequence of authorization, list of report, meeting plans, etc. Communication constraints usually derived from specific legislation or regulation, technology, and organization policies, right? So these can be the content of the communication management plan, right? So, again, you can add some more contents also, right? If required. Now, your day-to-day.
What could be an ideal size of a communication when it comes to any business? Could be how much, this much pages, only something like that, or it's
You're talking about communication or communication management plan?
It's communication management when you are communicating to a particular client.
So what should be the size of your email, you are saying?
Yeah.
See, as per me, nobody reads your email. Only few people might be reading. See, your communication should be as crisp and small as possible, right? So, as per the general rule, as per the gurus in this area says, right? They say that, as your email becomes bigger and bigger, the recipient loses interest.
Hence, bullet your points.
Bullet your points, and don't make it beyond 4 to 5 points or 5 to 6 points. Don't write long paragraphs.
But sometimes we might be needing to depict something about the project status or something like in a small chart or something.
No,
So
they can be attachments, right? Separate documents.
Point into attachments.
Right? But don't use email as a tool for conflict management, right? Many times, lot of big emails, fat emails, to and fro from point A to point B. I have seen that the outcome has been zero for
because people lose the chain of correspondence and thoughts in long emails, and even if they're forwarders from one subject to the other subject, people get lost. Hence, it's important, it's either crisp or a channel of communication is you ask for a meeting and then you go and explain.
For any kind of conflict, it's better to have face-to-face meeting.
Yeah.
Because the long email from one side to another side, they don't solve any purpose, right? I have seen people writing very, very bad emails, right? So, but it's not worth it.
One mistake a lot of times which I have observed is that people try to document a lot of data points on emails, which is not really the right way. It's more, an email should be just content of pointers you have to put through. An Excel sheet, an Excel sheet can have its own variation of notes and explanation ways.
Yes. I agree. So, right, we have a communication management plan ready, right? Now, our communication should be managed, right, as per this communication management plan, right? Now, what all is included in communication, right? What all is included in communication? Now, you see, if I say what all is included in communication, can I say communication will include time-driven controls, right? Event-driven controls, in general day-to-day communication, in project communication, we have time-driven controls and event-driven controls, right? Now, what are time-driven controls, right? And what are event-driven controls? Can you tell me what are time? Now, see, time-driven controls are those controls which are given to you at regular frequency. Now, can you give me some example of time-driven control? The controls which are exercised at regular frequency. See, your weekly status report, your daily status report, your monthly status report. What is this? A time-driven or a event-driven?
These are
Time.
time-driven.
These are all any regular reporting mechanism fall under time-driven, right?
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about a project end stage or phase end report or project closure report, right? Or escalation or exception report, can I call them a event-driven report?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, when I say manage communication, basically these reports are included, right? All these communications are included. Maybe, communication related to risk also, right? Issues also, right? And that communication can be part of time and event-driven report both, right? Now, we discussed about various reports like, weekly status reports, right? We discussed about event-driven reports like end stage report or end project report, right? Now, do you like to see the format of these reports?
Sure.
Exam will not ask you this format, but if you are interested, I'll show you the format of the report. Can I show you the format, guys?
Yes, please.
So I'm starting with the end project report first.
Yeah.
This is it, guys. I'm just opening end project report first, which is an event-driven report, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you see your end project report in front of you?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. This is again. Now, this is the end project report, so I'll straight away show you contents only. Right? For composition means content, so these are the contents of an end project report, first of all, right? Now, this is our end project report. Can you see the contents, guys?
Yes.
Right. First of all, in an end project report, there should be a summary of the overall project performance, just a summary, right? Now, let's start from the key content. We have discussed about business case. should we measure the performance of the project with respect to the business case or not?
Yes.
When the project is over, you are creating a end project report or project closure report. You should assess the performance of the project, right? You should evaluate the project performance with respect to business case also, right?
What was expected and what is being delivered.
Yeah. So what all will be included as a part of this, right? Let's see that. Benefit achieved to date, right? So some benefit, if the project is delivered in phases, some benefits might have achieved by now.
Yes.
But sometimes the benefits achieved are only after the closure of the project. Sometimes. So in that case, benefit achieved to date will be 0.
Right.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. Now, the second is residual benefit expected. Now see, some benefits are expected during project life cycle as per the plan, and some are expected, right, after the project is closed. So the benefits which are expected after closure of the project are called as residual benefit. For example, let me draw a line here. Suppose this is project timeline, right, from A to B, right? And let's say this is the point of closure of project, right? This is C. This C is a point of closure of the project, right? Now, all the benefits from after this point, right? All the benefits after this point, right? These benefits after this point, will they be residual benefits or not?
Yes.
Right? They are residual benefits, right? So these are residual benefits expected. Now, the third point is important, expected net benefit, right? Now, see, expected net benefit is forecast, is projection based on the current achievement, right? Is a projection based on the current achievement, right? Now, how do we calculate expected net benefits? It's more like a forecast, right? Now, let me show you how how expected net benefits are calculated, right? Suppose this is a benefit timeline, right? Suppose this is a benefit timeline, right? You are at this point C. Right? You are at C, this point. Now, if your benefit management plan says that, right? That if your benefit management plan says that, before project closure, right, you will achieve 5 million. Right? Right? And after project closure, now, and before project closure, right, you will achieve 5 million, let's say in 3 months after closure of phase 3, which is the last phase. You will achieve 5 million in let's say the time span here is, let's say the time span is, let's say this is 6 months. 6 months, right? In 6 months time frame after the delivery of phase 1, how much you have, or phase 2, you have, how much you have achieved? How much you should have achieved as per the plan? Tell me how much you should have achieved.
5 million.
Right? 5 million, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you achieve only 4 million, not 5 million, if you measure the actual realization here, if the actual realization is, let's say, if the actual realization is, right, if the actual realization is 4 million, will your projection be less or more?
Projection should be.
No, projection is same. Sorry, your forecast should be different or same.
Forecast.
You expected 5 million,
Forecast should
but
be on your forecast should be on your actuals.
Actuals, right? So
Yeah.
if I am expecting 5 million, I am
Right.
getting only 4. So suppose I am in the, after closure of the project, let's say in whatever time frame, I am expecting 10 million, right?
Right. So
Will I
there's a
get-
forecast you build for the on the residual then.
Yeah, no, not residual, right? See, the forecast should be based on the current performance,
Correct.
right? So I am achieving 80% of whatever I have planned.
That's
See,
right.
I expect, I expected 5, but I achieved only 4. Post project, yes, residual, which was 10, right? I was
Yeah.
expecting 10, but how much I will achieve? Will I achieve 8 based on my past performance, or I will achieve 10,
No, it'll be based on your forecast.
right? Forecast. So should it be 8 or not?
Yes.
It should be 8. I will.
8.
So my expected benefit will be, my forecast will be less, right? Now,
Right.
if my forecast says I will achieve only 8 million, then what will be the deviation from the approved business case? Will it be minus 2 million or not?
Yes, it will be.
It will be minus 2
Correct.
million, right? So
Correct.
this is my performance with respect to business case, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Now, apart from that, should I measure the performance of the project with respect to other areas also? For example, the performance with respect to other objectives, right?
Yes, and that's how you
time loss.
narrow down the loss.
Yeah, so we have to measure whether I am under budget, whether I was able to perform the project right within time, right? How was my quality, benefit, risk? So, I'll review the other project objectives also. Apart
Right.
from that, I'll review the team performance, right? How did team perform, right? And the team performance, if the team has performed good, really great, right? There should be a recognition of the team performance as well, right? Then the third thing would be review of deliverables, right? Have all the deliverables that were there as a part of scope baseline, have they been accepted or not, right? Should it be there should the quality record, approval records, should they be there or not? Right. Now, many times, tell me, when you close the project, is it always bug free, or there can be some minor bugs also? Do you?
Yes, there can be minor bugs.
Yeah, see, generally, even Microsoft, when they launch a new product, right?
Right.
There are n number of known issues.
Right.
But known issues should not be in the key areas, right? Major areas, right? So if there are some bugs, right, of specification, you should list them and plan a follow-up action for those, right? That should also be part of this, right? Right. The handover confirmation that there should be a confirmation that you have handovered everything to the customer. Summary of see if there are some known bugs, right, of specification, what you are going to do. So follow-on action and recommendation should be there, right? For any open issue, for any open risk, right, and all, right, which can impact the operations. Then learnings, right? What have we learned from this project, right? This should be part of the project closure report, right? What we have learned, what went well, what went wrong, what should we do more, what should we do less, right? This should also be part of lesson report. Yes or no?
Yes. Best practices also should be stated.
Yes. So that can go as a part of learning, right? What went well, what went wrong, and based on that, what should we do more, what should we do less, what should we do differently, right? Now, this kind of report, see, tell me, this is a project closure report. Now, this report will go to the project sponsors.
That's right. The ones who approve.
Yeah. When they stamp this report, then project is officially closed.
Yes.
Right. So this report is very, very important, and it's an important event-driven report, right? This is a project closure report. Now, if I talk about phase closure report.
Pankaj, just one question here.
Yeah.
When we say lessons report, I have been seeing one thing in the questions lately. Whenever a project gets closed, you need to write the lessons learned from the project.
Yes.
For future
projects.
Yeah. So, is this the same report where we are gonna write those lessons which we have learned from this project, or is there some other place too where those lessons are need to be placed?
See, you can have a separate lesson report also, but this lesson report should be a part of project closure report also. Right? So you have two options. Both are okay. One is in the end project report or project closure report, you can write lesson report like this, right? Or what you can do, you can have a separate lesson report document also, and you can give the reference of that document here. Right. But having said this, it does not mean that lesson learned are collected at the end of the project. See, lesson learned will be collected throughout the project life cycle on daily basis, right? Whenever there is a corrective or preventive action being done, the lesson should be captured in a lesson log, right? What you are doing is at the end of project, you are compiling those lessons into a report.
Is there any other document which we use to write those lessons, or
lesson log. In the lesson log, you should capture lessons on daily basis. Otherwise, how will you create a lesson report?
This is what I'm asking. Lessons log.
Yeah, lesson log is another document where you because lessons should be captured on daily basis.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So we keep on writing those lessons, and this is somewhere. This is in this report. It's gonna be an optional thing, or we can provide the reference to that document that lessons learned we have listed there.
Yeah. Right.
So that way,
this report is a compilation of all those lessons.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah. And it should be further put into organizational process assets, right?
Yeah, that is also one thing. And additionally, that is lessons log where we need to write and where we need to jot down all the things about learnings from the project.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Now, tell me one thing. See, this was a project closure report. Now, when you close the phase of the project or stage of the project, should you have any closure report like this or not? See, every phase has to be. At every phase, we discussed that, at the end of the phase, you have an exhaustive review of the project phase performance, right? Based on that, you check the ongoing viability, right, of the project. Now, tell me, phase closure is almost similar to project closure report.
Yeah.
Yes.
But tell me what will be the differences? See, phase closure report will have almost all the things that project closure report have, plus few additional things also. For example, in project closure report, we have only discussed forecast with respect to benefits, right? But when you talk about a stage closure report, should there be forecasting of time and cost also or not? Based on my current performance of the stage, will project be completed on time within budget? Should those things be there or not? Tell me.
Yes.
So in the project phase closure report, you will see some additional stuff also, right? So I'm just see most of the things are same as you see. For example, right? Aggregated risk exposure, right? Total risk of the project has been added here in the business case section. And apart from this, we not only have review of project objectives, we have review of stage objectives, team performance, right? Product review, same. Now, after lesson report, right? Since the project is not closed, we'll talk about issues and risk related to project and forecast. These two sections will be added, right? They were not there in these two sections, issues and risk and forecast. They were not there in the end project report, right? Because what will you forecast, right? The project is over now.
Yeah.
Right.
Pankaj, the risks we shouldn't be included we shouldn't be including in the project closure report.
Yeah, see why, I'll tell you what. See, some risks can be open, some issues can be open while you are closing the project. Right. Now see, when you are closing the project, you will close the issue and risk register, but you will have there was an item called as follow-on action and recommendation.
Okay.
Those issues and risks which can impact the operations, right? A response and resolution plan corresponding to them should be made and shared with the operations.
Okay.
Right. But see, we are closing the project. So okay, if there are some risks and issues which are open, we'll share with the operations team. We'll hand it over to them.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud that if we have that risk law or risk register kind of thing, right, which is
They
included
are
in the
closed.
code.
See, risk register, and obviously they are there, but they're closed now.
Yeah, they are closed, but wouldn't it help in any future project which is of similar?
Obviously, this is organizational process asset. Obviously, yes.
So you're saying
They will
though
be used
the risk register would be there, but would not be a part of like this report.
because it does not make any sense to talk about future issues and risk because project is no more there.
No, not future risk. I'm talking about the past risk that we have handled or that we couldn't handle.
The past risk and issues will be in the risk and issue risk register and issue register, and they will be part of organizational process assets. Anybody who wants to refer can refer them.
Okay.
They see organizational process asset is like an organization knowledge base.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
And another example would be, maybe, please correct me if I'm wrong,
Sure.
the bugs come during the stages. They have to be closed to move on, or few of them, if they remain when you put them in the closure report,
Yes.
can be dealt with.
Yeah, so they are off specifications, Saloni.
Right. Yeah.
I think in UK, off specification is a very common word for bugs, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yes, they use the word off spec. Now,
Yeah.
the third event-driven report is escalation or exception report.
Yep.
Right. Now, exception or escalation report, see, ideally should be written like this. Any escalation should be done with the full content, right? Right. For example, exception title, cause of exception, the consequence of deviation, options and recommendation, right? This is how we should do an exception. Now, I'll give you one example here. See, I came and sat at my desk, right? A mail pops up from my project manager, right? And the mail says the team might not be on board on time. It's a big risk, right? We had to start a project from tomorrow, right? The project manager is writing a mail to me that the team might not be on board, right? So it's a big risk. Now tell me, as a boss, will it irritate me or not?
Yeah, fundamentally,
I also see, yesterday, just a day before yesterday, I was sitting with the same guy. I knew everything. So why you are writing me in a written mail that team might not be on board on time, right? Just to think that, you have put ball on somebody else's court and, now he will take care of it.
Yeah.
See, if instead, it definitely irritated me, right? And, I went to him. Now, but, if instead of this, right, if he would have written a mail like this, right, we know that, based on yesterday's meeting, we know that it is, it's a big risk to have team on board by the time we start the project, right? And then, he would have shared some options with me. Option 1, we can prioritize the scope and we can focus on high priority items so that at least, in parallel, we can ramp up the team, right? And we should recruit people with critical skills first, right? Then, he should have, and we can, he should have given option 2 also, that we have some internal resources available with the skills with some other teams, right? Third option, we can have a mix of internal resources and some external suppliers in place, right? So if we have given, some options to me with his recommendation and then asked for my suggestion, right? Would it be the right way or not?
It is definitely the right way.
It is the right way, right? So then I would have, I would be really happy with his email.
So paralingual communication is not only verbal, it's also seen over emails. Hence, the documentation needs to be put in the right order, not to offend or not, because the purpose is to document, not, take away someone's job or create issues.
See, the problem is, you are shirking from your responsibility when you do this, right?
Yeah, because you want to pass the...
You are writing a mail to your boss, right, saying that, team might not be on board on time. And you are getting an impression that, I told my boss upfront.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you are expecting that he should manage the whole thing out. So, everybody can understand and analyze these tricks.
Correct.
Right. So, whenever escalation is good thing, not a bad thing, but, do it with timely. timely and with proper plan. See, if he gives me a plan and option, then it will be more collaborative approach. I would love to help him. But the moment you start these things, right? The moment you start seeing these things, you get irritated, right?
Yeah.
See, are you following me or not?
Yes.
See, communication is a very, very, important, important thing actually. See, I used to have a person who used to manage trainings for me, right? So, and there was there was some expectation mismatch specifically for corporate groups, right? For example, if I communicate that I won't go for a training because there is some problem, I'll ask him, just communicate to the person, right? This person in that company, I will say this, that you have to communicate that today I'll not be coming for the training because I have some urgent work or whatever. Now he will copy the same sentence, right? And say the same thing to the L&D guy there. And the guy in return will say that, if this was the case, Pankaj would have informed us himself, why you are calling him. And my purpose was, the reason I would ask him to talk about this to L&D people is, I want him to, exploit or enhance this opportunity, right? He should be building relationships with them. Are you getting my point or not?
Yeah.
The purpose was not simply to communicate this. The purpose was, talk about some other projects, talk about, build a relationship there. Are you getting my point or not?
Yes, yes.
So that's why, rather than internal listening, global listening, focused listening is more important, right? Now,
Right.
we have done all the types of event-driven report. Now, there are time-driven reports also, right? Can I show you some time-driven reports which are exercised at regular frequency, like a weekly status report?
Sure.
Right. Let me show you a weekly status report. Sorry, should be backward. Now, can you see a basic weekly status report, right? These are the compositions. Now, generally, most of you write this kind of a weekly status report, right? The only thing that is missing in your report is you don't forecast, right? Whereas effective project management practices, they expect you to do a lot of forecasting. Now, see, when you write a weekly status report, right? You have a basic overview. Then do you write task planned for task accomplished in this reporting period, or task accomplished this week, task planned for next week, issues, risk? Do you write all this in your weekly status report, guys?
Yes, normally this is the moment.
Right. But again, apart from this, you should also forecast, right? Based on my current performance, will I be able to complete a work package or a stage or a project on time or not? This is also added in a weekly status report. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We mentioned then there can be any, if any problem, it might be affected, something like that condition would be there.
Yes, you can put that. Yes, you can put that. For example, because of this issue, timeline can be impacted. They may go beyond the tolerance, right?
Yeah, if everything goes smooth, we might be expecting more than 10% or 5%.
You can write that.
Something like that.
Yeah, you can write that. So, in fact, apart from this, if there are any changes on the way, right, you can write about the change request also, right? So these are the basic reports, right? Now, see, there is an important concept. Now, see, again, this is, you can see a lot of questions regarding customer, communication requirement analysis on internet also. Now, there is a simple concept, right, which was very important in a previous exam, PMP exam. but now they don't ask any question on it. Right? But again, since it is there in the content, I'll explain you. Right? Which it is a part of communication requirement analysis. It is related to number of communication channels. Right? Now, tell me if there are 4 people participating in a communication as shown in this figure. Right? Can you see the diagram?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If there are 4 people participating in a communication, how many channels will be there between them?
Six.
See, for example, he can talk to him, 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 and so on. So will there be 6 communication channels or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now tell me, if there are 6 people in the 6 people there, between 6 people, how many communication channels will be there?
Yeah.
Now, see, it is difficult to find, if you have traced with the paths, you can directly use the formula. You can directly use this formula. Right? N into N minus 1 by 2. Can you see the formula N into N minus 1 by 2?
Yes.
Right? This is nothing but NC2, N factorial by 2 factorial into N minus 1 factorial, right? From that, you can derive N into N minus 1 by 2. Now, if I ask you a question, you have 7 people in your team. How many communication channels? You have 7 people in your team. How many communication channels will be there?
21.
7 into 6 by 2, 21, right?
Yeah.
You have done just one mistake. See, you have 7 people. If I say you have 7 people, so total number of people are 8 or 7?
7 people. No?
7.
You have 7 people, sir. You are project manager. You should include
8.
your
Oh, sorry, 8.
8, right? So 8 into 7 by 2, 28, right? So, the
Yeah.
questions can come around this. If I
Sir,
say
I didn't get. Can you please come again? The 8.
you have 7 people in the team. If I say you have 7 people in the team,
Means I have, excluding me, I have 7 people.
yeah. So including you, how many? 8 people. So it should be 8 into 7 by 2, which is 28, right?
You got it.
Right? Now, if I say you are 7 people in the team, then you don't have to add anybody, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, if I say there are 15 people in the team, how many communication channels? Tell me how many channels if there are 15 people in the team.
105.
105.
105. Does it mean lot of communication channels or not?
Yes, it does.
Can I reduce this communication? Yeah, Kshitij, I'll call you. मेरी class चल रही है अभी. Call करता हूँ. Now, tell me.
15 means like 16, na?
देखो, C is 15, so 15 into 14 by 2. 105?
Yeah.
Right? Now, is it not so many communication channels? Can it be reduced? Now, if I form 3 groups, if I create 3 groups, with 5 people here and 5 people. If we have 3 groups, right, with 5 people each, and we create a rule. The rule is, the communication across the groups. The communication across the group will only happen through leads, right? The leads will communicate across the group, right? Like this. Leads can communicate, right, across the group. Right? Right? A lead can communicate from here to here, or a lead can communicate from, right, this point to this point. Right? Now, in this case, how many communication channels is there? See, internally, everybody can communicate, right? These 5 people can communicate among themselves, but they can't communicate outside, right? Only one guy will communicate right outside. So how many communication channels?
30.
Uh, 30 is okay. 30 is based on, 10 here, 10,
Yeah,
10,
10
10,
each.
but 30, right? 10,
Yeah.
10, 10, 30. But what about these? 1, 2, 3. Should it be 33 or not?
Yeah, 33. Fair enough.
Yeah, 33, right? So number of
This is-
communication channels will be 33, right?
Sure.
Now, before winding up the session today, can we quickly do some questions on communication?
Yes, please.
Right? Let's do some questions quickly. Now, can we start?
Mhm.
First question. Keith, the project manager of large publishing project, sends an invoice to his client. Which communication type is he using?
B. Bravo, formal written.
Absolutely, formal written, right? Second, obsolete question. I'm leaving. Third question. What should be the answer of third? You can read and try yourself.
A alpha.
All alpha, right? A alpha for third.
Yes.
Fourth, you ask one of your stakeholder how things are going on a part of the project, and she says, things are fine in a sarcastic tone. Which is the best way to describe the kind of communication that she used?
Parallel.
Parallel.
Delta.
Now, can you answer question number 6?
$21.
Okay, 21, Isha. So let me just let me verify. So you have been 6,
28
right?
should be.
28, no?
28.
Sorry, 28. Yes, yes. 28.
28, right? So okay,
28. Yes.
alpha. Which of the following is not an example of active listening?
D. Multitasking by checking your email during a conversation.
Yes. So can I say D?
Yes, please.
Right? D. Absolutely D. Right? This is not a very relevant question, 8th one, but still we can do. Sue sent a message to Jim using company's voicemail system. When he received it, Jim called her back. Which of the following is true?
A.
A, absolutely. Right. So do you all agree A?
Not clear.
No, see, Sue sent a message to Jim. Now see, the person who will send will only encode,
Yes.
So wait.
right? Now using the company's while when he received it, Jim calls her back, right? So obviously calling her back before that, Jim has to decode the message, right?
Yeah.
So sender encodes, receiver decodes, right? And then encode his feedback. So it should be A alpha, right? But not very relevant question, so even ignore it. Such questions don't come now. 9th, you are managing a construction project. Suddenly, the customer asks for some major changes to the blueprints. You need to talk to him about this. What is the best form of communication to use?
Verbal. Formal verbal.
C, Charlie. Formal written.
Written. See, it's a major change. Right? Change should always be formal written, right? Because formal verbal will be lost. Right? You have to save this.
Okay, but after having a discussion also, we can formally jot down the points. Now,
That's
that's
okay.
what my thing is.
You know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yes. So
But
formally
in
jot
case
down.
of construction, it will be better to have everything formal and written, if any.
Because see, if it is not formal and written, I think Isha is also saying formal and written only, right? The only thing is, you need to talk to him about, right, this. That's why she said formal word. But again, it should be, but ultimately in this scenario, have everything written. Whenever you have changes should be written, right?
But it's written, you need to talk to him about this. So
No, you can talk. Obviously, discussion will be there, but finally everything should be written.
But it is asking for the uh, communication channel. So, and
No.
he wants to talk only. So
Yogesh,
it should be
Yogesh
verbal.
is saying what is the best form of communication to use in this scenario? Now tell me,
Communication channel.
can you? Yeah, he's not asking one channel. He's saying what is the best form of communication? See, it should be a written one and a formal written one, which is signed by everyone.
It needs to be documented.
It needs to be documented for sure, right? It's a change, major change, not only. See,
A blueprint
a
change,
major
yeah.
change, right? A blueprint is more like a requirement document, a scope document, right?
Yeah.
And it's a major change to that.
Rather, any change should be formal.
Rather, yes, any change. Because even small changes will aggregate to, huge.
Yeah, they ends up with a big
Yes.
disturbance in the last. Yeah.
And that's how scope creep happen. That's how scope creep happen in projects, right?
Sometimes you have to answer to the queries which are 1 year when it was discussed, and post 1 year you have to describe it. You should have something written which becomes a proof that yeah, it was discussed, well discussed and written. It was a formal way of communication.
Yes.
Right? So can we do 10th now? Right? 10th is again not so good question, but you can read and answer it yourself, right?
Encoding.
See, if somebody is sending, so Kylie is sending, so he's encoding, right? A.
Right.
So
A.
But not a very relevant question. Now this is a simple question. You can answer quickly. 15 people on a project. How many lines of communication? 15 into 14 by 2, 105.
105. We just did that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can you answer 13th? So that you have 24% team for you on a project, right? Now, after layoff, how many people will be there in the team? 12.
Well,
Plus you as a project manager, 13. Plus 5 sponsor, 18 people are there. Now, if 18 people are there, how many communication channels?
153.
153, right? B answer. Bravo.
Yeah.
Now, see, I think, some of the guys will not be able to answer it, which is okay. But people who have done cost management, right, with me, they can recognize EAC and ETC. What are these EAC and ETC, guys?
Estimated actual cost.
No, estimated completion.
At completion, estimate.
Are these forecast or not? ये forecasting में तो पढ़ा ना सारा हमने.
Yes,
Right?
forecast.
These are forecast, right? EAC and ETC, estimate at completion, estimate to complete their forecasts, right? Now, 15, which of the following is an example of noise? You should be able to answer this question. Which is noise here?
Alpha.
Oh, no. See, alpha is an incorrect communication. Noise will exist in the communication channel also. a distorted phone line, is it a noise or not?
Yes.
So
See, garbled text and smudges
yes,
can make a
see,
fax
Charlie.
or photocopy hard to read.
Garbled C.
Yeah, see, Charlie. Garbled text and smudges that make a fax or a photocopy hard to read. Right? That's it. So that's it, guys. That's all we have for now, right? For today. So we'll catch up again at the same time next week, right? With procurement, management, and MS project as a key topic, right? MS project is not a part of the course, but as I promised to Anil, we'll do MS project, right? Also. So
तो
next week.
जीरा का भी इंट्रो देख सकते हैं क्या? If
किसका?
possible. जीरा.
फिर जीरा का फिर एक और क्लास लेनी पड़ेगी, ले लेंगे. मतलब उसमें मत करना अगले सैटरडे संडे में. कर सकते हैं जीरा.
MS प्रोजेक्ट तो होगा ना कंप्लीट.
हाँ तभी तो देखो सुनो आपके लिए पूरा टाइम रखा है यार. देखो सी नेक्स्ट सैटरडे संडे procurement, which will not take more than an hour, right? Maximum 90 minutes. After procurement, only MS project and practice questions, right? If Aditya requested Jira, I am okay with Jira, but the only thing is it is not possible next week.
तो next to next में कर लेंगे ना जब
हाँ,
थोड़ी देर
Jira
का.
can, yeah, but MS project 100% sure, boss. Nitin,
ठीक है.
perfect. So we'll catch up next weekend, right? Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks all. Thanks for.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.